Downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Good Tuesday morning. I'm Priya Mann filling in for Nick Monticelli. Thanks for joining me for Local 4 Live here on Local 4 Plus. Click on Detroit.com and YouTube. If you need to get out the door right away, that's okay. Mornings are busy. We know that. But you can listen to us through the car podcast style. And we have 2 full hours of conversations and deep dives into stories important to you and your family. Starting with a live look over the Detroit River where the skies dazzled last night for the Ford fireworks. And we are recapping that spectacular night and of course, the crowning of a new star. Plus, Michigan trending in the right direction, but more work needs to be done. We're having a conversation with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services about the fight to reduce the infant mortality rate here in Michigan. Finally, many people may be heading to the lake or maybe to a beach because of all the sunshine and warm weather, but you need to protect your skin. Rhonda Walker is joining me in studio for an important conversation about the importance of sunscreen, especially in brown and black communities. But first, we are bringing in forewarned meteorologist Ashley Barrissey. Ashley, you have been so busy the last few days.
Me? What about you, girl?
No. I just haven't had any sleep. But man, these temps.
These temperatures have just not let up, not being kind to us, you know. But we will start to see some improvement by this time tomorrow. So there will be a little relief in sight. But in the meantime, it's like deja vu. Here we go again. Yeah. Back in the 90s, triple-digit heat indices. I mean, this map, almost a carbon copy of yesterday. Whenever I say that phrase, I know there are folks that are like, well, it's carbon copy.
The
you
young
just
people
dated yourself.
are like, wait, what?
Yes. So, yeah, almost exactly what we saw yesterday, temperature-wise, just maybe a degree or two cooler. But those extreme heat alerts do roll on for today. The only exception, thumb region, so north of I-69, lifting those alerts due to increased cloud cover and rain chances with a cold front today. But for the rest of us, we're still holding on to advisories and warnings until 8 o'clock this evening. The warning area is the most extreme, where those heat indices are between 100 and 105. Advisory area in orange would be about a 95 to 100 degree heat index. And so that's the feels like temperatures you step outside this afternoon. But otherwise, we have that sun this morning. We're on either side of 80 degrees, 83 in the city. And we have a southwesterly breeze out there. So between the sun and that southwesterly flow, pumping in the heat. It's going to be pretty quick. Back to 93 by 1 o'clock this afternoon. That's where we top out. Hot and humid afternoon will clash with a front that pushes through. So after 2 o'clock, rain chances increase. I think it's a better chance, though, after 4, maybe even after 5. So this evening we'll have a marginal risk for strong to severe storms. And that's for all of southeastern Michigan that you see shaded in green there. As far as the threat level, we could see damaging wind gusts. We call these wet microbursts that'll roll through the area. So maybe 60-mile-per-hour winds and some heavy rainfall that could lead to some isolated flooding. I'm not going to rule out hail, although I don't think it's likely, but if we were to see some hail, it'd be on the smaller side. So we'll walk through the timeline of that coming up in just a few minutes. But the first headline for today, of course, will be the dangerous heat.
Do you think the worst is behind us, or this is sort of a repeat? It's too similar to yesterday.
I do think that yesterday was the worst.
Okay.
But I mean, only by maybe 2. Yeah, I mean, so you're really not going to feel that difference, but you do notice the difference tomorrow. About a 10-degree swing downward tomorrow. Wow. So even though it's seasonal and still considered, warm, I mean, it will definitely be much more. I don't know if comfortable is the right word because it'll still be humid, but it'll be more tolerable.
Tolerable, great. Yeah, every degree counts right now.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Ashley. And we do want to get to your headlines this morning. Detroit officers are looking for the gunman behind a double shooting that happened in downtown Detroit. Police tell us 2 men were fighting on Randolph and Larned last night just after 10. Police say the suspect pulled out a gun and shot 2 people. The male victim he was trying to hurt and an innocent female bystander. Both have non-life-threatening injuries. That suspect ran through a parking garage. Surveillance video caught this picture of him. I think it'll come up in just a moment. There you go, wearing a blue hoodie and white sneakers. If you know who this person is, please call DPD right away. After more than 2 years since his death, the family of a Detroit neurosurgeon can begin its path toward justice. Prosecutors had a chance to lay out their case against Desmond Burks yesterday. They allege Burks shot Dr. Hoover back in 2023, then wrapped his body in carpet and hid it in the attic of the doctor's Boston Edison home during the preliminary exam. Now, we learned investigators have collected over 300 pieces of evidence, including 4,000 text messages exchanged between the pair. Testimony resumes at 9. And overnight, President Trump announced a ceasefire between Israel and Iran is in effect. In the hours leading up to a break in attacks, Israel launched a round of strikes near Tehran, which is the capital and the biggest Iranian city. Qatar officials also reporting it stopped an Iran attack on a U.S. base yesterday. Details of that ceasefire aren't yet clear. And we're getting a live look at the stock futures board. Futures on the rise following the president's ceasefire deal between Israel and Iran. Investors have been on edge since the U.S. attack on Iranian nuclear sites. Investors also watching what the outcome will be when Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell will testify before a House Financial Services Committee, where he's set to talk about policy to lawmakers. Well, this is what everyone was talking about. We want to take a live look at downtown Detroit. Less than 12 hours ago, the Detroit River lit up with a dazzling display of lights with the Ford fireworks. And this morning, we have a little replay of the grand finale. Take a look. All right, that was pretty cool to watch. If you had to hit your bed early and couldn't stay up for the show, you can rewatch it from start to finish over on clickondetroit.com. And getting a live look at downtown Detroit, we are back in just a minute with a conversation with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and its work to help save mothers and infants during birth. Some important statistics are coming up. We'll be right back. Health and Human Services announcing the state has reached its lowest recorded infant mortality rate in history. The most recent numbers come from 2023, where 607 infants died. That's a rate of 6.1 deaths per 1,000 live births. The year before, that number was 650 deaths, with a rate of 6.3 per 1,000 live births. Now, these numbers look a lot different when it comes to deaths among Black infants. While the numbers are a record low, it's still higher than the state average at 11.9 deaths. And a big reason for these lower numbers in the state, the additional funds to help community-based projects aimed at lowering the numbers. And joining me this morning to talk about the work that's being done is Dawn Shanafelt, the director for the Maternal and Infant Health Division at MDHHS. Thank you for joining us, Dawn.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Why don't we just first start with the numbers? Trending in the right direction, but obviously more work still needs to be done.
Absolutely. So definitely trending in the right direction, and that's been happening in Michigan since 2019. In 2019, we had a lowest on record infant mortality rate. That happened again in 2021 and then again in 2023. So definitely moving in the right direction, but we need to continue the momentum that we've built in Michigan.
You know, we've covered stories about various programs that help growing families. I remember talking to Wayne County Executive Warren Evans about a program that was launching there to help young parents in general. How do you feel these programs are working to lower that infant mortality by giving support to these growing families?
So this is definitely a long-standing public health crisis or emergency, whether you're in Michigan or throughout the United States. And when we grapple with challenging issues such as infant mortality rates, maternal mortality rates, we need to really work together. And that's why the community-based programs and the efforts that are supported through the state and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services are seeing change being made right before our eyes, as evidenced by the data that was shared. So wraparound services such as home visiting. Michigan has done a lot to invest in home visiting, and our home visiting programs serve over 20,000 families every year. We've invested in doulas and access to doulas throughout the state, and particularly in January of 23, families of who have Medicaid insurance are now eligible to have a doula be part of their care team. And doulas have been proven to improve birth outcomes, everything from improving low birth weight rates, prematurity, really standing alongside a family. So I think when we think about the things that are working, it really, the adage that it takes a village really is true. And that's coupled with our efforts with the clinical community. So we've invested in Michigan's 75 birthing hospitals, employing proven quality improvement efforts and safety bundles that mean that our hospitals are ready in the time of an emergency. They're ready when families come in and everything is healthy and going well, but they also can pivot really quickly. And all of that is very, very important and was really spearheaded by Governor Whitmer's Healthy Moms, Healthy Babies initiative that launched in 2021.
And the one thing that I thought when I was reading into these programs is that it seems like you're thinking outside of the box, trying to reach people where they are.
Absolutely. So that's the root of public health. Listening to experts, and the experts are families and communities. So hearing what works well, hearing where the challenges are and addressing those with policy and investment. And again, capitalizing on things that we know that work. I mean, health is in the community, and that's really where the investments are happening.
And speaking about health in the community, we need to talk about Black infants and the mortality rate there, which is higher than the state average. What can be done to help young mothers and families, growing families in the Black community to bring that number down?
I think we really need to focus on the fact that these are systemic issues. They are not the fault of the families, of the mothers and fathers and,
right.
and families in the community. They are the result of systemic challenges. And so that's why we need change and investment that's across the board to address the challenges that are disproportionately affecting Black, Indigenous, and Hispanic families in our state.
Is there anything that stands out to you when it comes to what we could do to reach those communities in a more effective way?
What really stands out are adjusting systems to assure that bias isn't happening. So, for example, in the clinical space, when I mentioned hospitals, prenatal care, really having standards of care to assure that all families are receiving optimal care. They're receiving the best possible care to result in the best possible outcomes. Also, I think we need to back up a bit and delve into the time before and pregnancy and between pregnancies.
Yeah.
We really need to spend time and focus on the health and well-being of moms, right? It's necessary to assure that we have healthy moms going into pregnancy. And if moms aren't healthy, to do everything that we can to provide services and optimal living conditions, right? Poverty is definitely a contributing factor to challenging birth outcomes.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Hopefully those numbers will continue to trend downward. And as you mentioned, it does take a village. It sounds like the programs that you've talked about are addressing some of those needs. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you so much.
Well, we want to get a live look outside over in New York City this morning. The Midwest isn't the ones getting record heat. The East Coast feeling the effects for a heat wave. Ashley joins us after the break. We are getting a live look at Coney Island in New York this morning, where temps there could actually hit triple digits. And with heat indices, it could feel even hotter. That's kind of hard to wrap your head around when you're talking about temps that high. Here at home, we do want to get a live look at Campus Martius this morning. Ashley, we have been talking about those hot temps, but you'd say it'll feel like triple digits with heat indices. In New York, it sounds different.
When I was driving in this morning, I was listening to news radio as well, and there was a story about how the road buckled in St. Louis from the heat.
Wow.
Yes, and actually put a car up into the air as they were driving by. So I didn't see the visual, but I heard the story, and you just think oh my goodness. And then yesterday I was out and about with my kids, in our backyard. I shouldn't say out and about, but just outside in our yard, and they didn't even want to put their feet on the back patio. It was so hot. And then you think about your dog.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
There are a lot of dangers besides just the heat-related illnesses. And in the slides, we were talking about that as kids.
Oh,
know what that's like.
Although that built character.
And built character.
I will say, those burns from those slides. We're tougher for it, okay?
That's true. That is true. But yeah, check out these temperatures. Last 3 days, we've been in the 90s. Yesterday, we tied the record high of 95. Today, we are well on our way of getting back into the 90s this afternoon. So it'd be a 4-day stretch. We're certainly in what would be defined as a heat wave, but also a jump start to the 90-degree days that we rack up throughout the year. And we average 13 of those. And so when it's all said and done today, we should at least have 4. Now, Now, here's a look at those temperatures compared to what's ahead. I do have some more promising news. This is the last day of the extreme heat. So those alerts should be lifting at 8 o'clock tonight. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be a massive cool down, but it'll be more tolerable. But it comes with storm chances. So the rain's cooling us off, but the rain does return late this afternoon and the evening, and with it comes a severe risk today and tomorrow. Clashing cold front with the heat, and I think it was just yesterday, Priya, you were saying you were surprised that we haven't had many storms with this. But here is, what we would call like a mechanism, like the front that pushes through and will trigger some of that. So right now we are really in the low 80s for most of us across the board, and we will rise about 10 more degrees. So 93, the forecasted high. It's after 2 rain chances increase really from north to south, but I think after 4 or 5 across the metro area, you see those stronger storms. But nonetheless, it's going to be a hot and humid one. So we have that extreme heat warning in pink. That's the area that could have those feels like temperatures upward of 100. And then the advisory areas in orange will have the heat indices between 95 and 100 today. Sanilac finally peeling back that alert up there into the thumb region, and that's because of increased cloud cover. But all of us under a marginal risk for severe weather today. We start to see some improvement tomorrow, but still south of 696 will be under that marginal risk. Hour by hour look at what's ahead. The front triggers those scattered storms throughout the evening, and they'll stay scattered in variety, probably a little reprieve through the overnight, and then by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon and evening, we'll have more development as we go into the later part. I mean, check out even the overnight. We'll have some of those heavier downpours. And so your rain chances will be kind of off and on throughout the next few days, and that's going to leave it humid because of the moisture. But we will be in the low 80s tomorrow, which will feel nice compared to where we've been, and then back into the upper 80s going into the weekend.
So what I took away from that is the hair won't be as close to God. It's going to be a little lower now. Yeah, not as high.
A little sinful.
And sinful. Yeah. It just starts deflating. I love it. All right. Thank you, Ashley. And we do want to take a live look at campus marshes this morning. If you are heading to a beach like the one downtown or to a lake on a vacation, are you staying protected from the sun? Skin cancer is the most common cancer in the U.S. And for people of color like me with a little bit more melanin in our skin, while there are fewer cases among black and brown people, we are at a much higher risk of dying from it. Rhonda Walker will join me next with Consumer Reports on crucial skin cancer detection methods and sunscreens for black and brown skin. We'll have that coming up. Welcome back. In about 30 minutes, day 2 of the hearing for the man accused of killing a Detroit doctor will begin. Desmond Burks is accused of killing Dr. Devon Hoover back in 2023. We learned yesterday more than 300 pieces of evidence was collected. This prelim hearing is expected to last 3 more days before a judge decides whether Burks will go to trial. And if you are watching us on the TV side, switch on over to Local 4 Plus for our new streaming show, Local 4 Live. Rhonda Walker is joining me in studio with an important conversation about sunscreen, when to wear it, why it's important that everyone should be applying sunscreen. Plus, are invasive bugs taking aim at your shrubs and gardens? We're talking with an expert about how to keep them away. And anyone hosting a grad party or maybe a kid's birthday party, what you need to do to make sure it's safe for everyone. Ashley is back with a look at your forecast in just a few minutes. Keep it here.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
And welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Priya Mann in for Nick Monticelli. We do want to start with a live look outside where we are taking a look at Mount Clemens this morning over in Macomb County. We are in for another hot day on tap with temps above 90 degrees. We're still in a forewarned weather alert with all of this heat. And we do want to bring in our Ashley Barrissey. Ashley, you've been talking about this for days now. It just feels never ending at this point.
It really does feel like a broken record, but we have relief in sight. There's been a little kind of smidge of hope as far as Sanilac releasing their alert, so you know that it's on its way, right?
We'll take it.
But those high temperatures still are going to be pretty much in the 90s. You do look up towards Sandusky and into the Thumb region, and we have those 80s in the forecast. You can understand why the alerts would be lifted. But as we look at the map, the heart of the metro area back in the low to mid 90s with those feels like temperatures in yellow, which is the heat index, right around 100, if not greater than that, especially in our more populated area for Oakland, Wayne, Macomb County. counties. And so the forewarned weather alert continues, but it will lift later today. So the extreme heat alerts from the National Weather Service will lift at 8 o'clock this evening. It is still worth mentioning it's going to be another warm overnight before we really start to catch a break in the temperatures come tomorrow with rain chances in the forecast. You wouldn't know it by looking outside right now. We have blue skies, so the sunshine is going to expedite the rise in temperatures today. 83 in the city, 78 in Ann Arbor, 80 in Pontiac, and 82 in Monroe. But by the time we get to this afternoon and around the lunch hour, we're at 93. It's a hot and humid day. Storm chances increase after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Better chance, though, I would say after 4 or 5 in the dinner hour, especially. So marginal level 1 risk for severe weather across southeastern Michigan with damaging wind gusts and heavy rainfall. Really the primary threats, and you could see some small hail. Not as much concerned about rotating storms with this system, but we're going to kind of start a turbulent pattern now that we are getting out of the heat, as we'll have some off and on scattered storm chances throughout the next several days.
It's interesting how much weather is top of mind. I was talking with a few friends of mine, and they were like, there's no cloud cover. And I was like, when have we ever talked like that? But when we're talking about triple digits,
I know when you're outside in the
attention.
heat, you're looking for that cloud. Like, when is it going to give me a
little
break?
bit of shade.
But we were talking last night, the breeze coming off of the river
Yes.
certainly helped for folks that were out at the fireworks, which is great because you didn't want to see people suffer from heat exhaustion or heat stroke, things like that.
Especially folks who got there early to get those prime spots.
Yes, there were some folks out there for more than 12 hours.
That's nuts.
I know.
But I think they came prepared. Water, cold water, umbrellas.
Yes.
You need it all.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Ash. And we do want to get a live look over at Campus Martius this morning. It is a beautiful day to head to the beach at Campus Martius Park or enjoy the river walk, but it's going to be sunny, so grab the shades and also put on the sunscreen. You know, not wearing sunscreen greatly increases your risk of skin cancer, and while Black and brown people are at less risk, sadly this group is at a higher risk of dying from it. And for the reason why, Aranda Walker joins me with the Consumer Report's crucial early skin detection, cancer detection methods to save lives. I was glued to this story.
Yes, because we have black and brown skin.
Right. Yeah.
I was too. So I'm glad that we're talking about it because skin cancer is the most common form of cancer in the United States, but it's people of color that are missing those unusual warning signs for detection, Priya, because normally, you know, what you would normally look for on white skin is different for ours. Like these warning signs are so unusual, and it does put Black and brown people at a higher risk of dying because it's not until the symptoms are much more severe. And melanoma is the most deadly form of cancer, and that's the trickier one to detect on dark skin. So I just want to give you a little quiz because I was shocked about this in terms of what the early detection methods are. Like you would never look at underneath your fingernails or the palm of your hand.
There's telltale signs
or
there?
your toenails. Absolutely. So
Really?
Consumer Reports did an investigation. We'll talk about it on the other side, but it was really eye-opening. And everyone with black and brown skin should see it.
Okay, Mary, let's talk about sun protection.
Skin cancer is the most common cancer in the United States. But for Black people, cancer signs can show up in unexpected places, and missing them can have serious consequences.
In Black patients, melanoma, the most deadly type of skin cancer, often appears on the palms, soles of feet, or under the nails, not on sun-exposed areas where people typically check.
Reggae legend Bob Marley's death at just 36 is a powerful reminder of how dangerous skin cancer can be. What was first thought to be a soccer injury under his toenail was actually acrolentiginous melanoma, or ALM, the most common type of melanoma among Black people.
Experts suggest doing a regular full-body skin check, not forgetting your palms, feet, and under your nails. And don't forget sunscreen. Even if your skin is dark, dermatologists recommend using at least SPF 30.
Finding a sunscreen that looks natural can be challenging for people with darker skin tones. That's why Consumer Reports evaluated its top-rated sunscreens on a range of complexions, from olive to deep brown.
Our main focus was finding sunscreens that don't leave a white cast on darker skin. Turns out there are some great choices out there that work well for everyone.
Two good choices from CR's sunscreen study: Black Girls Sunscreen Kids Spray and Play, SPF 50, and the Supergoop Play Everyday Lotion, SPF 50. And remember, protection isn't just about sunscreen. Wide brim hats can shield your face, neck, and ears, too.
So much to unpack here. One, I knew that Bob Marley died of melanoma, but the way it was not detected, because it had to do with what they thought was something going on with his toes, ended up being early signs of skin cancer.
You would never have made that connection.
No.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And also, and I just know from growing up, I loved to swim. I spent my summers in the pool every single day, would get out and sit in the sun all afternoon.
To be young again.
And you just didn't know what we know now about skin. And thankfully, I've never had skin cancer, never been detected with it. But I do suffer from like the hyperpigmentation from being so exposed from the sun. Now I wear foundation every day, so you don't see it. But I have lots of freckles.
It's so interesting you mentioned that. I was getting freckles on my nose. I'm like, this is cute.
Yeah,
and then my doctor
it's
was
cute
like,
at first.
no, it's sun damage.
And then they start blending together, and you're like, wait, what's going on?
Right.
So this is a way to avoid that. You know, we talk about UVA and UVB, and part of the problem from the sun is how it can impact your skin, give you aging skin, give you hyperpigmentation later on. So sunscreen is so important, but as we saw in the story, sometimes those sunscreens, they look pasty on our skin.
It was the worst. You would apply it and it would just be this white sheen. I am seeing newer products that have some tint in it so that when you're applying it, it blends a little better.
Yes, actually, Naomi Osaka, who is a professional tennis player, she developed, because, you know, they're out in the sun playing tennis all the time, and she developed her own line. She's Japanese and Haitian descent and developed her own line that has the shades of our skin tone.
We need that.
I found one also that it's kind of like a rose gold color, and it's an oil, so it kind of gives you like a pretty bronze color, but it also is SPF 45. And I also like the sprays.
Yes.
And it's important with the sprays not to just mist yourself. You need to get it close to your skin and then rub it in.
Right.
But I find that that's, you know, it doesn't kind of make your skin look pasty.
That's really, I wouldn't have even thought to rub it in. I thought a light spray would be enough.
Yes, you have to rub it in.
Rub it in,
So,
okay.
because I have this argument with my husband because he'll just go like far away and half of it's blowing into the air. I'm like, that's not going to help you. And his skin is more fair than mine. But I hold it like really close.
Okay.
So it's almost like you're putting, and I don't want to say baby oil because that's what I used to bake in as a kid. But,
right.
But it's almost like that, where it looks like it's that kind of oily, and then you just kind of blend it into your skin. But it's so important to wear it every single day, even if it's cloudy. We talk about it all the time, but so many problems can be associated with it. It's just not worth it. And you'll still get a tan. It'll just be a safe one.
Right, yeah. And I also hope that stories like this and conversations like this are bringing that awareness. Because for so long, I didn't think black and brown people needed it.
No, because we wouldn't get sunburn.
Exactly.
I remember, and that I used to lay out in the sun all summer long. I never got sunburn until I was graduated from college and went to Jamaica, where apparently their sun a little stronger.
Okay, yeah.
And I got cooked. I was peeling, and I'm like, what is this? But I didn't have on any sunscreen.
Well, times have changed, and we're better prepared now.
Yes.
No more peeling.
Exactly.
Thank you, Rhonda. It's a really serious topic, and hopefully it brings some awareness.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks
Rhonda.
for having me on.
Absolutely.
Right.
Love that chat.
See what we can talk about next time.
Exactly. Yes, yes.
I'll come up with something.
You always do.
Okay. Thanks for you.
Well, it is a balance of safety and convenience. Next, it's the challenge Royal Oak leaders have ahead of them as they look to reshape 11 Mile Road. We're taking a deeper dive into the options. Bye. Changes are coming to Royal Oak. City leaders weighing several ideas for the future of 11 Mile at a meeting that went almost to midnight. The City Commission was looking at 3 options, whether to add bike lanes, on-street parking, or more green space. In the end, leaders chose a mix of 2 options, neither of which were bike lanes. City Commission approved an 11 Mile lane conversion, which would go from 4 lanes to 3. The city says their plan will make the area more walkable, increase green space, stormwater management, and include some parking. So here's what the plan will include. They'll move curbs inward and add green space between Woodward and Main. It would add on-street parking on the north side only between Main and Campbell, and finally move curbs inward and add green space between Campbell and Stevenson. And here's what the mayor had to say as the commissioners debated all of the options.
The cities around us haven't had any firm commitment. So we could build the connectivity, to Commissioner Herzog's point, that might be a really good thing, and then it stops at our border. You know what I mean? Like that would be a blunder. So I think her points are very, very valid, and there might be a creative solution if we talk to those other communities, and now that we actually have this in motion, it might motivate them to figure it out a little bit more with us.
The project is estimated to cost about $9 million, with work starting in 2027. You know, when you hear that music, something good's coming. Our next Go For It event, less than a week away. It's focused on keeping children fed this summer. With kids out of school and no access to those meal programs, we're teaming up with Gleaners for a hunger-free summer. You can help by volunteering on Monday, June 30th, to assemble meal kits for children and families facing hunger. Now, you must sign up in advance. You can scan the QR code on your screen to do that. And we will be at Gleaners at their Taylor location. If you can't make it on Monday, you can also donate online using the same QR code. Well, getting a live look over in Ann Arbor this morning. Another hot one is on tap, but Ashley is tracking cooler temps with some rain chances. I feel like you can just feel that haze emanating off the screen. Is the worst behind us, and when's our next chance for rain? Ashley's got all the answers coming up. All right, I got you. Well, you know, these hot temps has everyone trying to cool off. If you take a look at these My Picks that were sent in from Danette over in Marine City. Oh, look at that little guy. He is just cooling off. She posted this photo of her pet pig, Charlie, with the caption, "Nothing screams summer more than a pig in the pool drying off on a beach towel, cold watermelon, and a nap." That sounds amazing. You can post your My Picks as well over on the My Picks page on clickondetroit.com. And who knows, you might see your picks right here on the air. And we do want to bring in our Ashley Barrissey. Okay, that pig looked so comfortable in that pool.
Now, you know why pigs take mud baths? I mean, I know that one wasn't a mud one, but they go in like the, you know, the muddy puddles.
I have not thought about that.
It's their way of putting sunscreen on. It protects their skin.
Okay, so mud is the way to go.
I don't know about that. I mean, like, aren't there mud masks and stuff? You can put on your
exactly.
Face? I mean, the pigs are onto something.
They know. We got to follow their lead.
That's right.
gonna be
But no,
good.
I mean, I learned that at the farm.
Oh, is that where you spend some time?
I do spend some time. At
Are
the
you
farm
wearing a
sometimes.
big hat with some sunscreen when you're out there?
I always have the sunscreen on. I mean, look at how fair this skin is. I mean, like this
gotta
thing
protect
this
it.
burns in like an instant. So yes, but yeah, let's go ahead and talk about temperatures because we have the sun, the heat making a comeback today. You want to layer up on that sunscreen. So every 2 hours, you just want to reapply. That would be the best advice today, just like the last few. And try to stay hydrated as we are going to be approaching the low 90s once again today, coming off of 3 90-plus degree days across Metro Detroit. In fact, we tied that record high of 95 yesterday. So your weather headlines, today should be the last day of the extreme heat. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to have more heat building back in by the end of the week, but cold front coming in. That will bring some cooler temperatures with some rain chances, but the clashing of that cold front and the heat also gives us a severe threat. So chances return this afternoon for storms that could reach severe limits both this afternoon, evening, and into tomorrow afternoon and evening. Temperatures right now across the board hovering right around 80, if not a little warmer, especially down in Monroe, 84 right now. And we're not even at 9 o'clock in the morning. So you know where this is going to go, upward from here. 93, the forecasted high at Metro Airport for today. So some areas could be a smidge warmer than that, but hot and humid with storm chances increasing after 2 o'clock. And I do think it's a little more prominent around the dinner hour. But extreme heat alerts will continue today until 8 o'clock this evening. We've already lifted the one in Sanilac, but National Weather Service continuing the advisories and warnings due to those triple-digit heat indices for today. Severe risk is marginal, level 1 on a 5-level scale, so it's the lowest risk, but nonetheless, it's heightened from a calm day. And then we will have that same risk tomorrow from 696 south. So here's a look at how this kind of pans out. Front passes through. We have some scattered storm development as we head into the later part of the afternoon and evening, and that will stay scattered into the first part of tonight. We'll get a little break, and then it's just this off and on pattern. In fact, I think that we'll have more development after about 2 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, and then it might be a little more prominent with this model run as we go into tomorrow night. So rain chances remain scattered. Saturday's probably the driest day of the next 7, but you can see that we are holding on to those rain chances. It's that Florida-like weather. You get those storms that kind of bubble up. And some of it has to do with that humidity, that muggy meter, tropical. So even when we're not dealing with the rain, that moisture is still in the atmosphere. And so that's going to make it the air you can wear. 82 degrees tomorrow. And then we're back in the mid to upper 80s this weekend.
I mean, that dome has just been sitting on top of us.
I know. You know, we have to be careful what we wish for.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, in the winter, we want winter to be done. We want summer, and then,
However, we like barely have any spring, and then boom, it's 95 degrees. Like we could ease into
I wish
it.
that the spring and fall, those transitional months, were longer.
Are you more spring or more fall girl?
I'm definitely a fall girl. Fall's my favorite. But the older I get, I have a new appreciation for spring. I feel like it's kind of spiritual. Everything's coming back to life, and I just soak in all of that. I love that.
I love that too. Although it's just happening too quick. We're springing back too quick.
What's your favorite season?
I gotta say, I like fall or spring for different reasons, but I think fall. I'm just appreciating the colors more.
I know.
Like my parents would take us on drives as a kid for the fall colors, and I'm just be in the back seat, like why? And now I'm like, this is lovely. Yes, we should enjoy this more.
It's a sign of our age. Right?
It is. Like fine wine.
That's right. You just get better with age, baby.
Thanks, Ashley. We do want to take a live look over downtown Detroit. While we watch the fireworks dazzle the skies above the Detroit River, we also crowned a new champ. Next, we're looking at the epic comeback of our Super Singer contest. Well, we saw some rising stars light up the night with our Super Singer competition. 4 finalists belted their hearts out for the chance to be crowned the champion. Here is a look at 3 of those finalists.
Very superstitious, the writings on the wall. Very superstitious, a lot about the fall. 13-month-old baby broke the looking glass. 7 years in bed, Lord, the good things in your past. Oh, when you believe in things that you don't understand, then you suffer. Superstition ain't the way. As I sink in the sand, watch it slip through my hands. Oh, as I die here another day. Hey, all I do is cry behind this smile. I wish you the best of all this world could give. And I tell you, will you let me? There's nothing to forgive, but I always thought you'd come back and tell me all you found was heartbreak and misery. It's hard for me to say I'm jealous of the way you're happy without me.
How do I go on if you ever leave? Well, baby, you would take away everything. I need you with me. Baby, don't you know that you're everything good in my life? And tell me now, how do I live without you? I want to know, how do I breathe without you? If you ever go, and how do I ever survive? How do I live?
Well, how do you pick a winner? After that, they were incredible. Well, there was a winner picked. Zaire from Detroit took home the whole prize. Here is a part of her winning performance.
Some people think that the physical things define what's within, and I've been there before, but that life's a bore, so full of the superficial. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything, but everything means nothing if I ain't got you, you, you. Some people want it all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything, but everything means nothing if I ain't got you. Yeah. If I ain't got you with me, baby. Oh, so nothing in this whole wide world don't mean a thing if I ain't got you with me, baby.
I was like,
Thank you guys so much.
We could keep listening to her all day. Zaire was amazing. She took home a $2,000 prize from Diversified Members Credit Union. Congratulations. Still ahead in our 9 a.m. hour, the temps keep going up, and it doesn't seem to be cooling off anytime soon. We're checking in with Ashley throughout the hour to talk our heat index. Also, testimony set to pick up in just a few minutes. The hearing for the man accused of killing Detroit neurosurgeon Devon Hoover. We're sitting down with Erica Erickson to help break down how things could turn out in this hearing. And with all of that heat, you may want to get some yard work done while you can. We're talking to an expert who's warning people about an invasive species of bugs that could make that hard work a huge hassle. We have more news and weather in our next hour. Stay with us.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Local 4 Live. I'm Priya Mann, and it's 9 a.m. We've got a lot of ground to cover over the next half hour, so we want to break it all down. First up, there is a massive heat wave that's slapping Metro Detroit this week. Of course, we've all been feeling it. If you were out at the Ford fireworks yesterday, and if you got there early, you sure needed a lot of water. Cold water would be best, umbrellas even. Temperatures were hitting several highs. Ashley will be here in just a minute to give us a better look at what we're dealing with. But we do want to begin with what's happening in Detroit, a preliminary hearing for the man accused of killing Detroit neurosurgeon Devon Hoover. We're sitting down with Erica Erickson to break down what's happening in that hearing. And with many getting out to get some yard work done, we're talking to an expert who's warning people about an invasive species of bugs that could make that yard work a huge hassle. But first, we do want to bring in forewarned meteorologist Ashley Barrissey. Ashley, it's just another day of extreme heat.
It is, and we just got from the National Weather Service the official heat index reports for the last 2 days. So I kind of want to just go over these for a second because yesterday's heat indices actually were not quite as warm as what Sunday's were.
Really?
Selfridge on Sunday, the heat index was 106, and over at Metro Airport, 105. Yesterday, Metro Airport, the hottest it felt was 99. However, Howell and Monroe were at 101 yesterday.
Interesting.
So, yeah. Now, you asked me, and I don't think you're going to feel much of a difference between between 101 and 105.
Right, exactly. It's just hot.
Right, but worth pointing out, though, that the actual heat indices were worse on Sunday than they were yesterday. So today, we're still looking at possibility of a few triple digits out there, but overall, we're going to start to see that improvement. So low 90s in the forecast today and feeling like 100 in a lot of spots, or just above that for the heat index. And so we still have extreme heat alerts, but those are set to lift as we go into the later part of the evening. So National Weather Service continuing the extreme heat warning for Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties, also up into Genesee until 8 o'clock tonight. And then the orange counties are the advisory, and that means that the heat indices will probably feel about 5 degrees cooler in those areas, but still feeling upward of 95, closer to 100 degrees this afternoon. Train going by over at Metro Airport, sun shining over the terminal there, and we are sitting at 84 right now at DTW, 83 in Pontiac, 82 in Grosse Ile, and 84 in Port Huron. You pair the sunshine with the humidity and that southwesterly flow, and boom, within probably an hour or two, we're going to be into the 90s. So by 1 o'clock, 93 is the forecasted high. Hot and humid day with some storm chances this afternoon. Widespread time frame, we say after 2, but I think really after 4 or 5 is when we start to see some of these firing off across at least the heart of that metro area, but they'll move from north to south with that approaching cold front. Damaging wind gusts and some heavy rain would be the primary threat, though I won't rule out some small hail that's possible. So we'll give you a closer look at that timeline and how that pans out, along with additional storm chances throughout the week coming up in just a few minutes.
And I mean, we were talking about with all the heat, I was at least surprised, I mean, you're the expert, that we didn't have any storms up until this risk now.
Right, because it's just been this dome of heat right now. You need a cold front, that colder air that clashes with the heat and the humidity to create those storm chances. And so now we're going to have that front pushing through today. That starts the storm chances. And then as the humidity lingers, it's kind of going to be like that Florida-like pattern where you get those bubble up showers and storms in the peak heat of the day. So
ponytail weather is what I'm hearing.
100%.
There we go.
Even the shortest hair can get the little stub back there just to get it off your neck.
That's the worst, is when it's on your neck.
I know,
for sure.
yeah.
All right, thanks, Ashley. Well, testimony is set to pick up in just a few minutes. The hearing for the man accused of killing Detroit neurosurgeon Devon Hoover. Prosecutors say Desmond Burks shot Dr. Hoover back in 2023, then wrapped his body in carpet and hid it in the attic of the doctor's Boston Edison home. Now, during the preliminary exam, we learned investigators have collected over 300 pieces of evidence. Erica Erickson was there trying to figure out how it could all turn out. Take a listen.
Detroit police trying to make contact with Dr. Devon Hoover at his Boston Edison home. This back in April of 2023 after discovering his white Range Rover appearing to be abandoned a few miles away. 2 days later, police say a family member asked for a welfare check because Hoover was supposed to visit his dying mother in Indiana. Police then discovering his nude body wrapped in blood-soaked carpet in his attic.
The death was caused by multiple gunshot wounds to the head.
34-year-old Desmond Burks charged a year later with murder, seen smiling at times in court Monday. Prosecutors say Burks and Hoover were in an intimate relationship and showing surveillance video, allegedly of Burks, who his mother testified has a limp from being shot, parking and walking from Hoover's white SUV.
What did you recognize the walk as?
Prosecutors say there are thousands of text messages between the two and evidence that shows Burks stole items from Hoover's home and used his bank cards after the murder. Burks' mother, the first back on the stand Tuesday.
The defendant is having conversation with someone.
The witness.
He told his mom he loved her. It's what he said. It's still inappropriate.
So much happened. Joining us now to talk more about the prelim is Erica Erickson. And Erica, I did notice that the witnesses, we are concealing their identity.
Yeah, the judge had a very, very strict order that's into effect this entire preliminary exam because there have been threats not just on the prosecution side, but on the defense side, and we cannot use anyone's names.
Okay.
any of their real voices. And if you may have noticed, their voices were distorted, and we cannot show any faces. And that's going to be, again, throughout this entire preliminary exam.
And that's because the judge was saying there were threats made.
There were threats made on, again, both sides. We heard from the suspect's mother there. She's going to be the first on the stand today, and that gets underway probably within the next half hour or so.
The one thing that got me about her testimony was she was talking about her son's distinct walk. And then you see that surveillance video.
Yes, and that's just a key and there's so much evidence here. It's just one of the key pieces of evidence. She said, yes, that's my son. He has a distinct walk because he was shot. He had that limp. And she was breaking up on the stand. You know, she clearly did not want to say that was her son.
Yeah.
And we heard another. There was a 911 call. A woman called and said, "Hey, there's this abandoned vehicle. It turned out to be that Range Rover blocking her driveway." Yeah. And that was when the police went over and did that welfare check, the first welfare check, and they didn't find anything. But then there was that second welfare check where they found blood at the home, and then they made that gruesome discovery. Now, Priya, you were saying there's a lot of evidence here, but it's the one thing that we've all been talking about. It's circumstantial, but there's so much of it. And we haven't heard a lot about their relationship, although prosecutors and police have said they believe the suspect and Dr. Hoover, were intimately involved. And there's some, 4,000 text messages or so between them. We haven't heard the details of those text messages, so maybe we will hear more about that in this preliminary exam. But we also heard a little bit more about some more of the evidence. So not only was that surveillance video and that body camera footage, but allegedly Burke's his cell phone was pinged, or it was believed he had Dr. Hoover's cell phone. Not only it was near his home and Fairlane Mall, but also one of Dr. Burke's items was found in his possession after he was killed. And then there were also fraudulent activity on Burke's bank accounts and things like that linking, Dr. Hoover's accounts linking Burke's to him.
And that's something
there's just a lot of evidence, even though it's circumstantial, that seems to be against Burke's here.
And you were talking about that yesterday, that's what you anticipated over this preliminary hearing. We were going to hear a lot of that new evidence that's coming out. Maybe that's part of the reason why the investigation took as long as it did.
And I think it spanned several states, different countries. There were so many different interviews. I think they said some 87 people, witnesses and things like that. I don't know how many witnesses they're going to call. I'll try to get some more information on that. But just a long investigation, and again, well-known doctor, well-loved doctor, and just...
When you were watching the testimony, I mean, obviously we've concealed the witnesses, but what was your takeaway from watching the mom?
I can't even imagine.
Right?
Just a mother having to testify against her son. Yeah. And then not only having to testify against her son, but having to point him out and say, yes, that's my son, allegedly.
Right.
At the scene of a crime.
Yeah. And then he's mouthing, I love you.
And then he was seen while she was testifying, making funny faces and comments to her. I couldn't make out what he was saying, but then yes, when she was walking out, he allegedly had mouthed it, and it said out loud actually that he loved her.
And so she's going to be the first to testify.
She's going to be the first back on the stand today, and then we're going to hear from a lot more.
How long do you expect this to go on?
Some said it could wrap tomorrow, but they did say it could go into Thursday. So we'll see.
We'll be waiting to see if the judge feels like there's enough evidence, circumstantial or not, to move this to trial.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Erica.
Thanks, Priya.
All right, well, an invasive species is making big problems for plant life right here in Michigan. Taking a live look at Belleville, what you need to look out for in your yard or garden. Beautiful Belleville. This is the kind of day where you want to jump into a pool or a lake. Temperatures are going to be soaring. Ashley is back tracking your 7-day forecast coming up. And getting a live look outside in Belleville right now. Many people may be getting outside, maybe even doing some yard work. And if you're one of them, you might want to be on the lookout. Invasive species are here in Metro Detroit, and they are attacking your plants, hedges, and trees. This morning, we're joined by Caitlin Spalwiski. Did I get that right? Spalwiski. She is an educator at the Michigan State Extension, part of the Greenhouse and Floriculture Extension. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
First thing I noticed, you have brought a display here.
Yes.
What are we looking at?
This is the spotted lanternfly, actually, and it shows all the different life stages.
Oh.
Aside from the egg masses, which are what is kind of out there now. You actually won't see any of these in the landscape yet, but they'll start showing up once we get further into late June, July. That's when you'd start to see this tiny little pinprick beside this tiny little pinprick. That's the first instar is what they call it. And then you'll start to see the larger sizes. And then later in the season, we'll see the beautiful adults.
Beautiful but problematic.
Exactly.
Yeah. What should we be on the lookout for? You had an interesting list when we're doing our yard work or, out and about.
Yeah. So with spotted lanternfly, you're going to want to be on the lookout for actually this stuff called honeydew. So if you notice sticky residue underneath trees, sometimes it'll grow what's called sooty mold, more of a nuisance for homeowners with that pest. The real thing to worry about in our area of Metro Detroit these days is the box tree moth.
Okay.
Boxwood is a very popular landscape plant. Probably one of the most popular.
Did not know that.
Yeah. It's an evergreen plant. It's very trimmable. People will make hedges for it. It's also
I can picture it now.
Deer resistant, which is a big factor for folks in our area. And so there's a lot of boxwood in the landscape, and there's a new pest called the box tree moth.
Okay.
That actually moved into Michigan in 2022, but we are seeing a lot of it this season as it spreads. It's actually in 13 counties within Michigan now.
And what are the telltale signs?
So you'll see rapid defoliation of plants. They'll actually eat all of the leaves and leave just that central vein, kind of gives the plant these little curly cues. You'll see, but really you'll see the loss of leaves. One of the photos that that we had up there shows a plant that has a kind of brown or scorched look because it's had so much feeding on it this season.
Does it happen rapidly?
It does. If there are a lot of the caterpillars on the plants, in Europe, where this pest hit first, it's actually native to parts of Asia, but in Europe, they've been dealing with it for quite some time now, and plants can be defoliated in a matter of weeks.
Oh, wow.
Our climate's a little bit different than Europe, so really, the most quickly we've seen that happen here in North America is within a few months.
Okay, so that's concerning.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Even if you have just a few caterpillars, you'll see your plants decline and probably die out in the course of a couple of years.
So what is your recommendation if you're starting to see some of these telltale signs? What should you do?
Well, a lot of folks are treating their plants. There are some treatment options, but I will say that a lot of homeowners that don't want to deal with that are just pulling out their boxwoods and removing them. And we have a great list of alternative options for the landscape.
That are deer resistant?
Some of them are deer resistant.
I heard the sigh, though. I heard the sigh.
Some of them are deer resistant. We wanted to throw some options in there.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to find a perfect replacement for boxwood, but we have a great chart so that you can consider different factors like lighting, soil conditions, plant hardiness zone in our publication that's through MSU Extension.
Is this a situation where it's here now and it's going to be we have to deal with it one way or the other?
Yes, that is the situation. As with most invasive species, we're really not trying to eradicate them aside from the outer perimeters, which box tree moth is not throughout the entire state of Michigan. Like I said, there's a quarantine zone of 13 counties at the moment.
Are any of them in Metro Detroit?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So check out our map online, but Wayne, Washtenaw, Oakland is where we've had the most reports.
Really?
Yeah. So
and only since 2022.
Yes, it's spreading very
problem.
rapidly. We do think that some of the spread is due to people disposing of infested plants improperly. So that's the other thing homeowners should take note of is if they are pulling out boxwoods, we recommend that those plants are double bagged and put out with the municipal trash rather than your yard waste.
They're that hardy?
Yes.
Like if you were like one bag's not enough.
Right. Well,
Wow.
and when you're dealing with woody type plants, you can get sticks poking through.
True. Very good
leaf litter
point. Yep.
falling out. So
Yep.
just to be safe, we recommend double bagging those plants. If you're a landscaper, you have other options such as treating the plants first, putting them through a chipper, or in some places you might have the option to burn, but you need to check your municipal codes on that.
I'm thinking of all those movies where the scientists are sounding the alarm and everybody else is just going about their life. Since this invasive species came in 2022, I mean, are you seeing similar effects from other invasive species, like just how quickly things are spreading or
Sure.
deteriorating?
Yeah, so a few years back, we saw our first cases of lily leaf beetle or scarlet leaf beetle that affects Easter lilies, Asiatic lilies, Oriental lilies, fritillaries. Does not affect daylilies, so people can.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, grab a sigh of relief for that.
Yeah.
But pretty rapidly in the Detroit metro area, actually, people have lost their lily plants and, really can't plant them anymore because of how rapidly that pest has spread and kind of gotten set up in the landscape.
Well, thank you for sort of, bringing this to our attention and sounding the alarm, because if it's spreading this quickly and even how you get rid of it could also be a part of the problem. It's good information for folks to have.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, some relief is finally on its way as we near the end of a heat wave. How much longer do we have to wait until temps dip back into a more comfortable 70s and 80s? We got a few more clouds in the sky than yesterday. Ashley's back in just a moment. Well, Ashley is back talking temps, and we've just been dealing with the heat and humidity. I know you feel like you sound like a broken record, but great reminders for folks about how to try to stay cool.
Right. So, I mean, if you're going to be outside, you want to freeze water bottles before you go out. So at least when you're drinking that water and trying to stay hydrated, that at least the water bottle will stay cooler a little bit longer, because it's going to melt pretty fast with these type of temperatures. Find shade if you can, the light, loose fitting clothing, everything we've been talking about for days, that does continue into today. I want to start with our 24-hour temperature change map. I haven't showed that yet this morning, but this will be the first time, because this would indicate the fact that we are actually a couple degrees warmer in some spots. So there you go. You can see that we are anywhere from, just like 1 to 2 degrees warmer, which I know isn't like, oh my gosh, but still, given how hot it's been, that would indicate you would think that we would be a little bit warmer this afternoon. However, we do have a cold front that's coming in, and you can see the color contour if you look really closely on the map there in the northern tier of lower Michigan. That blue compared to the yellow would show that those temperatures are cooler. You get more cloud cover from that front coming in from the north, and then some rain chances today. So as we hit the peak heat of the day, that rain and the clouds roll in, that will keep those temperatures from soaring even more this afternoon. But don't get me wrong, we're looking at 90s again. So right now we sit at 84 degrees at Metro Airport, 85 at City Airport, so we're well on our way to getting there. And as we recap the last 3 days, we have been in the 90s. We've clocked 3 days now of 90+ degree days. Yesterday tying the record high of 95, and a very good chance that this would be day 4. But I think we stop it here, as we will have some cooler air coming in tomorrow. Seasonal.
Goodness.
Thank goodness, right? So today, just bear with us. We're at 93 for that afternoon high. Scattered rain chances after 2. Still some conflicting data with the timing. One high resolution model pulling it in just after 2 or 3. The other one wait until about 5 or 6. So I'm just going to safely say late afternoon, evening, we could start to see some of these scattered storms firing off. But it's going to be hot and humid. We want you prepared for the heat first and foremost, as we have those extreme heat alerts. So the warnings across the heart of the metro area, advisories in the outlying areas. The only difference, well, the heat indice probably about a 5-degree difference the farther you go out.
But you did say there was some silver lining with Sanilac, right?
So yeah, you see Sanilac's not highlighted on that map.
I did.
Yes,
I noticed.
so that one lifted early. So the thumb region not dealing with those extreme heat alerts because of what I mentioned, that cloud cover and the rain chances will be earlier in the day there, not getting us to that peak temperature into the 90s. I think we probably talk about upper 80s up there. So it's still a warm one, but just not as dangerous and extreme. Now, speaking of the possibility of some danger, marginal risk for severe weather with these storms that roll through that clashing cold front. That's all of southeastern Michigan today, and then tailored back to 696 south heading into tomorrow. And so I want to show you the latest model run that we have here. I'm pulling in the one that's going to pull in those storms a little earlier. So kind of swapped out the data here for you just to give you the difference. And there shows you some of those scattered storms around 3, 4 o'clock, and then a little bit more robust as we head in the later part of the evening. And then we'll get that lull, the instability not quite as great through the overnight hours as we cool off a bit. Then we will start to warm up tomorrow, kind of re-energize the atmosphere, and we'll have a chance for some showers going into tomorrow. But that one downplaying it, and that could be because the temperatures are a little cooler. So tomorrow is still a little iffy, but there's that chance south of 696. Nonetheless, rain chances will be scattered over the next 7 days. Saturday's the driest day. And then as we look at the muggy meter, though, still tropical. That moisture trapped at the surface, and you're going to feel it outside. But 82 tomorrow, which will feel like quite the break, and then we get back in the upper 80s by Friday and beyond.
Okay, well, we'll take whatever bit of relief we can take.
I know. Who would have thought,
right?
like, just like a week or two ago, they're like, oh, yes, 82 feels cool, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's Mother Nature for you.
It is. It is Michigan. I was going to say summertime Michigan. It's just Michigan. You wait 5 minutes and the weather changes around here.
I know. I heard you talking about possible hail, and I was like, wait, what?
I know. It's a small
Very
chance,
small.
but nonetheless, you know.
But you got to warn us. We got to know.
That's right. You have to know what all the threats are on the table.
Thank you, Ashley. Well, there's new twists and turns in the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs. A live look at New York City, where the prosecution could rest its case today, who we expect to take the stand as testimony wraps up. Right now, where the trial of Sean Diddy Combs is expected to be, he's expected to be back in court as we speak. We're coming off the heels of yesterday's testimony from a Homeland Security special agent. That agent was questioned about documents and text messages that are believed to support the sex trafficking and racketeering charges. That same agent is expected to take the stand again today before the prosecution rests its case. The defense team says it plans to rest its case without calling any witnesses, but will submit some evidence. Major coffee chain Starbucks said it is not currently considering a full sale of its China operations, despite a Chinese financial magazine reporting that it was. That's according to Business Insider. Routers, a company spokesperson, said in a statement, quote, "I can confirm Starbucks is not currently considering a full sale of its China operations." The financial magazine said Starbucks had held preliminary talks with more than a dozen potential buyers, citing sources who did not specify what was for sale or even disclosing where it got that information. Well, we love to hear it. Taking a live look at Detroit right now. Less than 12 hours ago, the Detroit River lit up with a dazzling display of lights with the Ford fireworks. And this morning we have just a little bit of a replay of that grand finale. Take a look.
And I know you own my heart, and I want to say it. Some sweet day. Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
Looking good. If you had to hit the bed early and couldn't stay up for the show, you can rewatch it from start to finish over on clickondetroit.com. Although the majority of the crowd just came downtown to have fun last night, one street corner did erupt in violence. When we come back, we'll show you the man police think pulled out a gun during a fight, which happened on Randolph and Larned during the fireworks. We even heard the sirens here in studio. We'll have details on the investigation coming up.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Good Tuesday morning, everybody, and welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Priya Mann in for Nick Monticelli. Thanks for watching. We're checking back in with Ashley on those temps. And Ashley, just are we out of the woods yet? Is the worst behind us?
I think the worst is behind us, but we're not out of the woods when it comes to still triple-digit feels like temperatures today. But we're inching close to getting out of the woods today.
Well, hopefully, we just keep inching a little faster.
Yeah, you can see the light through
Thank
the trees.
goodness. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, here's a look at what we're forecasting for today. Back in the 90s and feeling closer to 100. I think the farther north you go, it'll be a struggle for those heat indices to hit 100 because of some increased cloud cover that comes with the front. But we'll be right around that 100-degree mark for the feels like temperature the closer you get to Metro Airport, City Airport, and even down south into Monroe. So low 90s and triple-digit heat indices today. Pardon me if you've heard that before, but yes, we do have that extreme heat warning that continues today. Over the last few days, we've been stuck in this, but it should lift at 8 o'clock this evening. That's the expiration time from the National Weather Service, and those outlying areas under the advisory should expire at the same time as well. It's just the advisory areas will have those heat indices just a few degrees cooler than the more populated areas. But sunshine is helping to crank up the heat already, and so 85 degrees in the city, 83 in Ann Arbor, 83 in Pontiac, and 86 in Monroe. Let me put this in perspective. We're only 5 degrees off from 90, and it's 9:30 in the morning.
Right,
so, yeah.
exactly.
Great chance of getting to that 90-degree mark. And so as we head throughout the afternoon, forecasting 93 for the afternoon high, and it'll be hot and humid, and that could trigger some of those showers and storms as a cold front sweeps through. In fact, some of those storms could reach severe limits, marginal risk of them being severe, but I think that the primary threats would be some damaging wind gusts and some heavy downpours that come through, maybe small hail, but overall, this is a level 1 on a 5-level scale. So we've seen that risk certainly higher so far this season, but nonetheless, you have to take it seriously because, you know, all those threats are on the table.
I also thought it was interesting. You were talking about some of the data. Was it from the National Weather Service?
Yes.
About like which day was actually hotter?
As far as the heat index?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was surprising.
Right. So our actual air temperature over the last 3 days where we've been in the 90s was highest yesterday where we tied the record of 95. But the feels like temperature, so that humidity and those dew points, all of that was higher on Sunday. So for folks that were outside Sunday and you thought, it really felt like it was hotter on Sunday. Well, the feels like temperature was Selfridge clocked 106 heat index and Metro Airport was at 105.
It's hard to wrap your head around those numbers.
Oh, I know. I mean, it really defines oppressive, you know, not just hot, but that's just stifling when you're outside. In
Absolutely. Well, hopefully some relief, even if it's slow, is on the way.
And it is. I promise you that.
Thanks, Ashley. Detroit officers are looking for the gunman behind a double shooting in downtown Detroit. Police tell us 2 men were fighting on Randolph and Larned last night just after 10. Police say the suspect pulled out a gun and shot 2 people, the male victim he was trying to hurt and an innocent female bystander. Both have non-life-threatening injuries. That suspect, by the way, ran through a parking garage, and surveillance video caught this picture of him wearing a blue hoodie and white sneakers. If you know who this is, please call DPD right away. In January of 2024, a brutal dog attack ripped a loving father of 6 away from his family. Harold Phillips was walking home in Detroit when 3 dogs got out of an unsecured gate and killed him. The dog owners were sentenced on dangerous animal causing death charges earlier this year, but there is still a wrongful death lawsuit looking to hold even more people accountable. Our investigative reporter Karen Drew is here to explain.
The family argues it wasn't just the dog owner's fault, but the system failed the family. Now, according to the lawsuit, Detroit Animal Control had run-ins with these dogs before Harold was killed and had investigated at least 2 attacks before his death, including a time when a child was bitten. But even though they were known to be dangerous, one of the dogs was returned home. And now there's a father who never will.
I love my daddy. And when I miss my dad, I always play his music.
Shawntae Phillips, Harold's wife of more than a decade, describes him as a great dad with a loving spirit, a hard worker, and a family man.
We love to go to the water, spend time with the kids, of course.
Phillips was walking home January of last year when he was attacked by 3 dogs near West Chicago and Longacre Street. The dogs got out of an unsecured gate. When Shawntae got to the hospital, her husband was already in a coma.
It was very hard, but I was praying very much so that he would have made it through. I stayed until his heart stopped.
Phillips died 4 days after the attack. The owners of the dogs, Roy and Trevina Goodman, were sentenced in January. Roy got 30 months to 15 years and is currently in prison. Trevina got 3 years of probation. But now, the fight for accountability goes to the city.
The lawsuit that we filed seeks to find accountability for the City of Detroit, Detroit Animal Care and Control, and Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control.
According to the lawsuit, Roy Goodman was watching a 5-year-old boy when he and the child were both bitten. 5 dogs were living in the home, and Detroit Animal Control impounded 2 of them. Trevina sent a plea to the animal control investigator to let her keep one of the dogs, saying the dog doesn't feel safe in his own skin. She agreed to enroll the dog in a Zoom training session, and the dog was returned to her. The lawsuit also mentions a man who reported being attacked by the Goodman's dogs 2 years after the child was bitten, alleging the Detroit Animal Control closed that case after leaving a card at the Goodman's home.
Why would y'all give those dogs back? Very negligent, very irresponsible.
The lawsuit states there were prior attacks, the investigations were inadequate, and citations to the dog owners failed to educate.
We allege that due to the money that's tied to those donations, Detroit Animal Care and Control has allowed Friends of to dictate how they enforce the rules in the city of Detroit for dangerous dogs.
According to its website, Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control helps animal control with volunteer management, donations, and live releases. Head to clickondetroit.com to read the full lawsuit and also for a deeper dive into the relationship between these two agencies. I'm Karen Drew. Back to you.
Great information there. Okay, thank you, Karen. Now, we did reach out to Detroit Animal Care and Control. The city declined to make a statement on this story, only saying they, quote, do not comment on active litigation. Friends of Detroit Animal Care and Control said they were aware they had been named as parties in a lawsuit, but could not provide any details. A brief ceasefire, then back to fighting. A live look at the New York Stock Exchange's biggest board, which impacts conflict in Israel and Iran has on our economy right here in the U.S. Taking a live look at that coming up. We are getting a live look at the board right now, where stocks look set to rise at the open after President Trump announced a ceasefire in the Israel-Iran conflict. Futures have been higher overnight, and we could see a gain or a loss as the day goes on. This comes after a rally yesterday sent the Dow up 374 points. The Nasdaq was up 183, and the S&P 500 added 57 points. Wall Street will also be monitoring Fed Chair Jerome Powell's testimony that's happening on Capitol Hill later today. And speaking of, Israel is accusing Iran of what it calls a serious breach of President Trump's ceasefire. This coming after Israel launched another round of strikes near Tehran, which is the capital and the biggest Iranian city. Iran is firmly denying the allegation. The accusation comes shortly after both countries agreed to the truce following nearly 2 weeks of intense conflict. Earlier, President Trump said that a ceasefire between Israel and Iran was in place and asked both countries to uphold it. But as of now, it is unknown how long the countries will keep the fighting on that ceasefire. And despite the ceasefire news, the White House facing criticism for its handling of the Middle East. Dozens came together in Midtown yesterday to voice their disapproval for the conflict against Iran and the ongoing Israeli war. Our Victor Williams was there and spoke to community members, making their voices heard.
We've seen these wars going on for decades.
But maybe not for much longer between Iran and Israel after a ceasefire has officially been reached between the two countries. That's according to President Trump, placing an end on what's being called the 12-day war.
We need peace in order to resolve these conflicts.
Prior to President Trump's announcement, there was passion on both sides about the commander-in-chief sending airstrikes to several nuclear sites in Iran, with support from Michigan lawmaker Representative Joe Aragona.
It's never an easy decision to exercise the military, but at the end of the day, you know, everybody could see that Iran was moving towards a nuclear weapon.
While the ceasefire is news that's welcomed by most, some are wondering how long peace between Iran and Israel can last.
We hope it's real and we hope it holds. And at the same time, there's some long-term diplomatic, military, political, and economic issues that will have to be resolved in regard to Iran, the State of Israel, and the United States.
Others, however, are choosing to believe the peace when they see it.
I'm not sure if there is any ceasefire. I did not hear from the Iranians anything on that. Nobody talked about ceasefire except Trump.
And that was Victor Williams reporting. This announcement, by the way, is coming just as the president is on his way to the Netherlands for a NATO summit. Experts are imagining this will be one of the president's bragging points at the event. Temperatures will soon start to cool, but not before a round of storm. Ashley is mapping out a timeline of when that rain will move into Metro Detroit and how long these storms will last. We're laughing talking about running weather, and it's something that I've been trying to squeeze in, but you know, usually I'll go for an early morning run.
Priya's a runner.
I'm a runner, guys.
No,
I try. I cosplay as one.
No, it's awesome what you do.
Thank you.
I envy it.
I know she gives me grief, but we really do like each other.
We only pick on the people we like.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's been hard trying to find a window to run in.
I know, because even these early morning hours where some folks like to get a run in, it's still really hot and humid. And then the evening hours, I mean,
forget about it.
I know. I was sitting outside where my kids were playing in the little kiddie swim pool yesterday. I was like 10 minutes in and I could feel the sweat dripping off my body. And I'm under a pergola in the shade. And I was like, maybe I'm going to watch them through the window in the house. And
wait, you didn't get into the kiddie pool?
No, I probably
feel like
should have. We had some activities, some like sporting activities to go to. If not, I probably would have thrown the swimsuit on. But you cannot trust kids under the age of 6 because they have water balloons, and I would have been just soaked. Yes, so I was keeping my distance.
Smart choice.
But at least they're smart staying cool that way. You know, kids can find those creative ways. They'll run through the sprinkler, whatever they need to do, and it's going to be another day like that before we get a break from the extreme heat. So it's the last day of the dangerous heat, but we're still holding on to warmth. We have some storm chances returning this afternoon, and with the cloud cover and the rain, that should drop those temperatures heading into tomorrow, but there's the severe risk that goes along with it. So it's like, be careful what you wish for, because we'll get the clouds and the rain, but we certainly don't want to see damaging storms roll through the area, but a marginal risk of them being severe both today and tomorrow. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a second. Let's talk temperatures. So right now we're sitting in the 80s all across southeastern Michigan, so well on our way to getting to 90 degrees. That next weather maker will be the heat before that cold front brings the storms. And so today's forecasted highs, mainly low 90s, but feeling closer to 100 when you pair it with the humidity. And then, of course, that sun beaming down on you. I want to show the national map here because We've been talking a lot about the fact of how hot it is off on the East Coast from New York City. You can take a look. There's already some 90s along the Atlantic seaboard there, stretching down into Raleigh as well. So they're going to be even warmer than us today. Then you have that cold snap in the northwestern part of the country where as you get closer to the Rockies, I mean, Rhonda this morning was talking about she had heard an area that got some snowfall yesterday. And you're trying to like wrap your mind around it. Of course, it's a mountainous region, but still, you're like, oh, we're dealing with oppressive heat and they're talking snow.
But does it seem slightly warmer even on the cold front? Were you talking 40s in some parts for the west side of the country?
So as far like 40s, like for overnight lows?
Yeah, I thought when because we were looking at the dome on the East Coast and that's what we were affected by.
Right.
And then but it looks just not as cool. Maybe I missed. Maybe
no, because everything's starting to shift. So yeah, you're absolutely going to start to see like it's kind of the ebb and flow, the yin, the yang, and yeah, it'll start to get better over there as we start to get the cooler air working its way here. But yeah, we have another day of 90s, which will make it 4 days of 90s in a row, and we tied the record high yesterday of 95. So probably maybe a degree or two cooler than yesterday, but still hot and humid. And then we have those storm chances after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Extreme heat alert should expire at 8 o'clock. That's the set expiration time from the National Weather Service. Our forewarned weather alert will persist throughout the day today, not just from the heat, but we also have those storm chances. We kind of tailor back that storm chance tomorrow south of 696, but there still is a chance for some severe weather. And so let's go ahead and take a look at that computer model. So by 3:30, we have a few scattered storms firing off. I think we get some heavier rain late evening going into tonight, and then we have more stable air in place through the overnight before we have a chance going into tomorrow. This model run not picking up the morning showers tomorrow. Another one does have a little bit more robust rain tomorrow. So there's still some disagreeing model data when it comes to the storm chances tomorrow, but there is that chance. But today we can lock into late afternoon, evening, certainly seeing some of that rain, which will be off and on throughout the week. And the humidity not going anywhere anytime soon. So that full forecast shows that we do dip into the low 80s tomorrow, but then climbing out of it back close to 90 by Friday into the weekend.
I'm telling you, Ash, after the last few days, if we get a good downpour, I might just stand out there.
I know.
Just be like, how does it feel?
Right.
Dance in the rain.
You'll be running in that rain.
Exactly.
Usually you try to dodge the rain. You're like, no, bring it on. I'll run in this. Yeah.
You know me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Ash. Yeah. You know, when planning a party in advance for your kids, you won't always know if the weather may be dangerous, like a heat wave that we're having this week. So it's important to take precautions, not only for the weather, but other hidden dangers around the house before the company gets there. Here's Rhonda Walker with some important Consumer Reports safety tips.
These days, hosting a party for your kids can get pricey fast, whether it's a trampoline park or laser tag. That just may not be in the budget this year, but a free, affordable place like a park, right, Al? This is a perfect place to host a party. Just make sure that your space is kid party proof to keep everyone safe. The cost of kids' parties can add up quickly, so Natalie Gerstein is planning ahead this year.
We've actually enjoyed doing parties outside of the home, but it's more expensive, and we're just trying to think of ways that we can save and do it ourselves.
Hosting at home means more responsibility, especially when it comes to safety.
There's a lot to think about when you're baby-proofing or kid-proofing for a party. That includes very small but dangerous items like button batteries, for instance.
Button batteries found in household items, toys, and even party favors can be deadly if swallowed. Keep unsecured ones out of reach or toss them.
You also have to think about big things like furniture. Kids love to climb, they love to explore. Sometimes groups of kids can get a little wild. So it's really important to make sure your furniture and your televisions are anchored to the wall.
Consumer Reports tested several furniture anchor kits and recommends this metal simple mount kit for wood studs behind drywall and this quake hold kit for metal studs behind drywall.
Take the time to find the studs in your wall and anchor your furniture in at least 2 places. And if you can, double loop the tether for extra strength.
Another growing concern, food allergies. About 1 in 13 kids has one, and even trace amounts of peanuts, dairy, or eggs can trigger reactions. CR suggests asking about food allergies in advance, labeling food clearly, and offering some allergy-friendly options.
I make my home safe for my children in the same way I'd want it to be safe for another child.
With a little planning, like safe party favors and clear food labels, you can keep the party safe and fun for everyone. Oh, and speaking of those goodie bags, just don't even make them filled with junk food. Instead, add maybe a gift card to a local small business like an ice cream shop or your favorite bakery. And let's face it, if your kids are at the park having a good time like this, they're not going to miss the goodie bags, and you don't have to go through all the trouble making them. From a beautiful park in West Bloomfield, I'm Rhonda Walker, Local 4.
All right. Thank you, Rhonda. You know, you can go ahead and snap the QR code that's right at the bottom of your screen. It's going to take you to our special consumer report section on clickondetroit.com. And there you can find articles on topics like the best things to buy in June and essential tips for shopping at garage sales. School's out for the summer, and while it means fun in the sun for kids, it can also be expensive for parents as they juggle childcare needs. Data shows that costs skyrocket for parents during the summer. We have some of that data here. Savings.com recently conducted a survey and found childcare costs increase over 300% in the summer months for a typical family. That comes as year-round childcare costs in the last 5 years have gone up 29%, according to a recent survey from Childcare Aware of America. Last year, the average price of childcare was more than $13,000. Some parents say they have to think ahead when considering summer childcare.
These parents told us that they set aside all year long. So a little bit out of every check goes toward those increased expenses in the summer.
Well, experts say to save money, consider leaning on family and friends for help. You can look at libraries and their drop-off programs or check out programs at your local YMCA. And just a reminder, our next Go For It event is focused on keeping children fed this summer. With kids out of school and no access to those meals programs, we're teaming up with Gleaners for a hunger-free summer. You can help by volunteering on Monday, June 30th to assemble meal kits for children and families facing hunger. You must sign up in advance, scan the QR code that's right on your screen to do so, and we will be at the Gleaners Taylor location. If you cannot make it that day, you can also donate online using that same QR code. Still ahead, Live in the D is almost here. We're sitting down with Kim and Tati to talk about everything happening in the show later today. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back. Well, you send them and we show them. That's how it works for our My Picks of the day. Today we have a photo from Vicky showing, oh, this is so cute, not only the face on her tree repping the Detroit Tigers, but probably the laziest little squirrel in the entire world, just, you know, chilling on the branch. You know, it's hot. He is trying to stay cool in this heat. He found a great spot to just lie down and take a nap. We have so much more coming up throughout the day here on Local 4. Kim and Tati from Live in the D are here to show us what's ahead. Hey, ladies.
Hey. That squirrel kind of looked like it could have been like the baseball bat of that baseball
It really,
player.
seriously. It was hot. I don't blame him.
Yeah. He's just out there
laying
great
out.
picture. Living his best life.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well,
Well, really
good morning,
excited.
guys.
Good morning.
Yes.
What do you have planned for us?
Well, I mean, I'm sure everybody here watched the fireworks last night.
that's
That
right.
was an incredible show. And we saw the winner of the singing.
Super singer.
Yes, super singer. So guess what?
No.
Yes.
What? She's here?
Yeah.
She's
I love
here.
this.
She's
I love
a
this.
sweetheart.
She was so good. I was like going back and forth while she was singing.
But not only was she talented, obviously, that checked a box, but like the way she spoke and interviewed
Yeah.
afterwards, I was like, whoa, you are like wise beyond your years.
Right.
So like,
Very
thoughtful, yeah,
very
in what she
sweet.
said, and
representing the
appreciative.
city.
Yeah, representing the
Absolutely.
city, thankful to her family.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to talking to her on Live
Same
with the
here.
D
And I
today.
was actually there for her audition.
Wow.
Yes, I was. And I was like, there's something special about this young lady. And here we are.
Did you see the other auditions as well?
I did, yeah.
This was so tough.
Yeah, it was
I
really
know.
hard.
It's hard. I mean, hello, it's Detroit. We've got talent here.
Lots of talent. I just gave my recommendations. It was like, I need to move on.
Yeah.
This is on you
I don't
guys.
wanna-
This is your final. I would not want to be in the position to have to make
Right?
that decision. Yeah, but there's something else that we're talking about on the show today that I'm really excited to kind of expound on, which is pickleball elbow.
Yes.
So you know how people get
yes,
play
tennis
pickleball elbow?
I have a little bit, but I've been noticing problems with my elbow regardless, so I'm interested.
Let me see
Watch
it.
Yeah, okay.
today at Live in the D at 11
Tough.
a.m.
Okay, thanks.
and we'll have solutions for you.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a
for your
thing.
pickleball elbow.
It's hard.
It's a thing.
It's really hard, and then to fix it, it just seems like you kind of have to live with it for a while.
For a little bit, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because
I'm,
I've
like,
definitely
holding it
had that. Well, hopefully we'll have
comforting
solutions
it.
for you today on the show. Really excited about that.
And also Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. We're
Yeah.
talking to them as well. Popular Netflix series. So, I mean, we've got a lot going on the show today.
really
Are we going to get you in the outfit?
Yeah, I'm going to do like the high kicks or whatever they
boy.
do. Oh, boy. Yeah, the outfit. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I'm excited to talk about their pay raise because
Yes.
those ladies were working really hard.
Wasn't it like 400% or
Yes.
something?
400%.
How do you have time to
Yeah.
research Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders?
It was
I saw
everywhere.
That, and
Yeah.
it was, I
Yeah.
was like impressed.
It
That
really
was
was.
great.
It's a great thing because
Yeah.
they work really hard and
Yep.
they have not been paid. Oh, that's the show.
There we go. Have a great day, guys.